Thank you.
Well, there are criminals and there are individuals, but the criminals are individuals. It's like, no, right?
I'm sorry, man.
No, that's fine. So they say relationship to the source of power in society. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
And I assume that they mean economic power. I mean, there's very few people who say we have a class structure and the class structure is political. They usually say it's economic, right?
Yeah, that's usually what they say.
I'd also like to say like a grand and enormous fuck you to everyone who talks about the working class. Like seriously, fuck you. You selfish, entitled, largely academic assholes. Are you trying to tell me that in your fucking definition of the working class, when I was an entrepreneur, and I've now been an entrepreneur for 20 years almost, are you saying to me that a fucking fat bastard punching his clock at the DMV or the post office, he's the working class, but me as an entrepreneur, working sometimes 60, 70, 80 hours a week, putting my ass on the line, signing massive liabilities for tens of thousands of dollars to keep payroll going for another couple of weeks until money comes in. That this fucktard of a government employee, he's the working class, and I'm not working? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How do people say this with a straight face? Fuck you to the people who talk about the working class. Be a goddamn entrepreneur rather than a pimply communist ass-sitting motherfucker, and then maybe you can talk to me about the working class.
Yeah, no.
Get out of the academics, stop reading Marx, go start a fucking company. Go come up with an idea, get some investors, and work your fucking ass off. Stare at a business plan until beads of blood form on your forehead, fall and create some miracle of hieroglyphics that produces money. Go and start a company and then talk to me about the fucking working class. Entrepreneurs are the working class.
Oh, yeah. I totally get that, and I kept on rebuting that entire theory with that entrepreneurship.
Karl Marx talking about the working class? The guy didn't work a fucking day his whole goddamn life. He leeches off his dad. He leeches off his wife. He leeches off off Engels.
Yeah.
And then he bangs his maid, tosses her around the street. Oh, because, exploitation of the working class is really terrible. Bangs his maid, tosses her out in the street, denies that he even has a son, which everybody knows he has, because he wouldn't want to lose his moral prestige. This fuckwit of a pimple-ass motherfucker is going to talk to me about the working class. You giant Old Testament bearded fucking leech parasite on the human condition. Just bugs the shit out of me. Get a fucking job. Start a company. Hire some people who you call the working class and compare your hours to their hours. Then talk to me about the working class. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I understand that. I just keep on getting into these weird arguments with them, and it's like they don't stop using the same argument after it's been rebuted. So it's
class. Look, the Marxist definition of class is just an appeal to vanity.
Yeah,
you're the real heroes here because you come in at 9, you get your 2 15-minute breaks, and sometimes 45 or 50 minutes for lunch, and then come 5 o'clock, you're out of here. You're the real hero in this company. Without you, this company couldn't function. Those guys up there who worked 80-hour weeks to build this company, they're the parasites. You guys are the real heroes. You're the real money makers. They're just stealing from you. And you know why they're targeting the people at the bottom? Because the people at the bottom are usually too stupid to know that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Listen, when I was a waiter, I didn't feel exploited.
Yeah.
Because when I was a waiter, I was like, God damn, I'm glad somebody made this restaurant because I'm not a retard. I'm not an idiot. I know the restaurant didn't just belch itself out of the ground like lava out of Mount Vesuvius. The restaurant had to be conceived of, built, planned. Somebody had to order all that shit that comes out of the back of the restaurant. Somebody had to advertise. Somebody had to paint the walls. Somebody had to make the tables. Somebody had to make the oven. Somebody has to pay the electricity bills. I just got to fucking waltz in there, bring people some food, and walk out with change in my pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a waiter at a pizza place, this is way back in the day. You had a 5-minute guarantee on people's lunches. 5-minute guarantee for sit-down food. And you had to get their drinks out before you brought their food. So you had like 8 or 10 tables. People all come in and sit at the same time. You have to get their food. And they put timers on the table. And you'd slap the timer and off you'd go. You'd have to get their drinks. Then you'd have to go back and get their food and have it out within 5 minutes. And if you didn't get out within 5 minutes, they got a free pizza. The manager of that restaurant was throwing up blood. Sometimes he was so stressed at the end of those lunches because it was so crowded. And they just shooting fucking pizzas out like cannons. Pull, slap down, right? And I mean, I was like, people would say to me, hey, do you want to go be part of the parasitical managerial class? It's like, I really don't. Because he's like, his eyeballs are yellow with stress. Like, he's throwing up blood. I don't want that. That's not for me. Right? No, thank you. I'm just going to come in, tie my little uniform on, throw some pizzas at people, and go home. So the idea that I was somehow viciously exploited, you know, those same people who say to the working class, you're being exploited. Do you know how I really no longer felt exploited? When I couldn't get a job. When I graduated in the early 90s, a terrible recession. I talked about this before. I'll keep it brief, but I was like, I want to be a waiter. We don't need a waiter. Got more waiters than we can handle. We're firing waiters. Everywhere I went, nothing going on. Look, I'm free of exploitation.
Yeah.
I'm free. Get a crust. Yeah, I can't waiter at the restaurant, but maybe they're throwing some food out in the back. I'm going to go taste me some dumpster freedom. Jesus Christ. I mean, look at people who can't get jobs. It's like, no. You're free. You're free. You're not being exploited anymore. Shouldn't you be happy? Now you can go be one of those parasitical managers who just coast by on everyone else's labor. Go do it. So easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you could get shit for free, everybody would be a manager. The idea that there's no costs and benefits to being a manager, they get paid more. Okay, good. So go do what they do. If it's easy, it's free money, which defies all the laws of economics, but that's okay because you're kind of an idiot. So just pretend that they're getting free magic money because they're tall or have nice hair or a white or a male. It's free money. So go get some. If it's so easy. But they don't want to do that. They just want to sit there and have people like Iago pour these resentments into their ear. You know, he's just making all the money off your labor. It's like, oh, well, the sensible thing would be for me to go and do that then, right? There's this big pile of unattended money over there. You could just go and get some like he did. Well, I'm going to go over and get me some of that unattended money. Doesn't seem to be here. What there is here is a whole lot of 80-hour work weeks and stress and worry and debt and risk. You know, when a restaurant fails, the owners are usually left hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, which they will spend the next fucking 5 years paying off, if they're lucky. Yeah. What happens to the waiter? 2-week severance. You poor, exploited bastard. Good Lord.
Yeah, something that kind of broke my indoctrination was when I went up and worked for my aunt and uncle. They ran their own business, their own janitorial business. So, I mean, I got a little bit of an idea of how entrepreneurship actually worked.
It's this weird thing. Like, people think that when they go home, the managers just sit there, roll around in free money. It's like, who's paying those property taxes? Who's doing all that paperwork? Who's paying the taxes on the corporation? You know, when you go home and watch fucking Ally McBeal, they're sitting there up to their eyeballs in paperwork.
Yeah.
Who's dealing with the health and safety regulations? Who's making sure that all of the food is kept in the right spot? Who's fixing all when the freezer breaks down? Who's doing all that shit? It's not you. It's not you. You're just coming in and complaining about being exploited.
Yeah.
As opposed to, we have a mutually beneficial arrangement. You have costs and benefits. I have costs and benefits. And you know what? It all works out. I don't want the stress and debt. And you want more money and you're willing to accept the stress and debt. So there you go. Costs and benefits. But nobody likes to think about costs and benefits. They don't want to think that the choices and consequences, right?
Yeah.
I went to the gym. You sat on the couch. You have diabetes. I don't. Costs and benefits. You stole my insulin. You exploiting bastard. No, choices and consequences. You smoked. I didn't. Anyway. Yeah, so the class thing, it just bugs the shit out of me. And look, I'm not saying that employees don't work hard. They do.
Yeah.
Sometimes, for sure. But they didn't start it.
Yeah.
They did not start it.
Yeah.
They didn't take the risk, and they're not legally exposed to the liabilities of the company that fails. And everything, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you want the extra money, work the extra hours, take the extra risks. There's nothing free in this world. There's no free lunch, and nobody is being exploited. I mean, outside the political system and all that. It's just choices and consequences. I was not being exploited when I took a massive pay cut to do free domain radio. It's not exploited. Choices and consequences. I have a richer, deeper, more meaningful, more passionate, more involved, more engaged, more helpful life to the good and a more harmful life to the evil, which is exactly what I want. Mwah! But choices and consequences, it all could have blown up. In terrible ways.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's just choices and consequences. I have no problem with people who want to be employees, who want to sit on the couch, who want to stuff their faces with Cheetos. I'm not going to sit there and finger wag and be the ultimate asshole ninja police of ultimate fitness and health. I do it. Yeah. Just accept the choices have consequences. If you don't want to start a restaurant, that's fine. If you want to work your magic amazing human brain potential to the point where you are a very good food carrying robot, go take the food from here and put it there. And then take the plates from there and put them there. That's your job. You are a conveyor belt with an apron. I've got no problem with that. I did it for years. Nothing wrong with it. Do that. Then you don't have to go to school. You don't have to take any risks. But you know what? You get paid for what you know. And knowing how to move food from A to B is not knowing very much.
Yeah.
Knowing how to start and run a restaurant, a little more skillful. You know, when I was stocking shelves when I was 12 years old at a convenience store, I was getting paid $2.45 an hour. I was happy that there was a convenience store that was willing to pay me $2.45 an hour. And, it was a little humiliating. Girl came in that I liked. Here I am on my hands and knees, scraping gum off the floor. And I'm looking up and I'm like, this is really not the hottest posture for a young man to be in.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a gum scraper. Want to go out sometime? I'll probably wash my hands.
Yeah.
But, I was happy to have the work. I got my first job at the age of 11 in a bookstore. Happy to have the work. Got up, took the bus and the subway for an hour and a quarter to get to work for 4 hours. Took the bus back. Great. I mean, what was I going to do at the age of 11? Start my own bookstore? Not likely.
Yeah.
So this class thing, it's just a way of telling people that their risk-free choices should get the same benefits as risky choices.
Yeah.
That their inertia should get the same benefits as energy.
Yeah.
That their reactive comfort should receive the same rewards as proactive discomfort, which is also called entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But there is a class Sorry, before I get to the next rant, I just want to make sure does this sort of make sense? Is this useful?
Yeah.
There is a class, though. And I've talked about this before on the show. And the class is IQ.
Okay.
And the class is IQ. And to some degree, that's environmental. And to some degree, that's genetic. And what level? Some people say the correlation is 0.6. Some people say it's 0.8 in terms of genetics. But there is a class. Now, the class is malleable because two parents who have an IQ of 120 are not likely to have an IQ 120 kid. They're likely to have an IQ 110 kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a regression to the mean, right? Wherever there's a disparity, there tends to be a regression to the mean. That is being somewhat reinforced, that's being somewhat undermined, because since sort of the 1970s, particularly in American society has gotten very good at finding smart people and hiving them off to Ivy League bubble spheres of cultural and economic and political influence. So like the top 5% of intelligent kids, of the top 1% of intelligent kids, like 31% of them go to like the top 6 or 8 Ivy League schools in America. Society's getting very good at finding smart people and removing them from their local towns and communities and bringing them to Ivy League schools and, putting them on the fast track. It's one of the reasons why wealth disparity is, and again, it's all government funded, or at least largely government funded and largely government driven. But it's one of the reasons why wealth disparities are increasing, right? So that there is a class, it has something to do with IQ, and certainly IQ's proximity to political power vastly increases the power of IQ. But okay. IQ, which is largely fixed in an individual by the age of 6, it rarely changes after that in any substantial ways. And there's been lots of goals in society of trying to close IQ to make it less of a bell curve. But, that's like trying to make everyone the same height. Sorry, genes at work, right? I mean, genes at play. And I mean, the whole point of the Head Start was to get disadvantaged communities up to the same IQ as everyone else. And there was some initially very encouraging things. And then as genetics tends to play out, as or whatever, the X factor, genetics plus environment. And I'm a big fan of focusing on environment and figuring out what can be solved around that, as I've talked about for many years. But there is a bell curve. And so what? There's a bell curve in singing ability. There's a bell curve in height. There's a bell curve in reaction times. It's just the way it is. We have this wonderful biodiversity of humanity. And so there is a class, and the class has to do with IQ, and the class has something to do with genetics. And there's simply, to the degree that class is influenced or determined by genetics, there's simply no way to call it unfair. I mean, you can call it unfair if you want, but that's stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who's smart is not stealing IQ from other people. I do think that smart people should work as hard as they can to create an environment where other people's IQ can flourish, which is why I talk about peaceful parenting and negotiation and no spanking, because that's going to give people a 5 to 6 point boost in IQ right there. So I think if you are smart, you can there's not much better good that you can do than circle back and try and improve IQ for other people. But it's not going to make everyone the same. Yeah. If some kids grow up short because they're malnourished, give them more food. It's not going to make everyone the same height. There is a spread in ability. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's fine. There's way better singers in the world than me, and there's way better musicians. I did violin for 10 years when I was a kid. I was in an orchestra. I was okay. But there were some people who practiced kind of the same amount. It was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not stealing my ability. And low IQ doesn't mean that there's any fundamental problem with success, right? I mean, I think Muhammad Ali's IQ was like 78. 70 is like borderline retarded. He had an IQ of 78, but he had energy, he had drive, he had charisma, and he was a good-looking guy, and so he made something of himself. So it's not the fundamental determinant, but to me, when people are talking about class, it's sort of like when people talk about the NBA. In a lot of ways, they're talking about height, and that's fine. I mean, only a couple of short players in the NBA, but come on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of Chinese players in the NBA, but we don't expect them to be proportionally represented according to demographics because Chinese people tend to be kind of short.
Yeah.
Tall Chinese person is the exception that proves the rule. You call them tall.
Yeah.
So I think that looking at the world through the understanding of IQ is important. IQ does not make anyone superior at all.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm running away from a lion, I want fast legs. I don't want a big brain. In fact, a big brain's just going to slow me down. So there's nothing to do with superiority or anything like that at all. It's simply just a characteristic. And so in the Marxist view, there is this insane egalitarianism, like we can just make everyone equal. And that fundamentally comes out of the concept of the soul. Because in the soul, in the eyes of God, everyone is equal.
Yeah.
Because the soul is not dependent upon any physical characteristics like number of brain cells or size of the brain or size of the cranium or size of the neofrontal cortex or anything like that. So there's this weird egalitarianism. And egalitarianism only appeals to the resentful.
Mm-hmm.
And it only appeals to the fundamentally insane, and it only appeals at its most essence to somebody who wants something for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you want to go be a front man in a band? Go sing in front of a band. Go sing in a band. I did it. Wasn't really that good. Wasn't for me. Well, it was for me. I just wasn't for it. I don't have the voice. So go try it. And if you can do it, do it. And if you can't do it, then you fail. And so, you know, a couple of garage bands that I sang for were like, hey, you know, you got lots of energy. And not so much with the with the voice. Yeah. I'm like, I did play violin for 10 years. Well, Ashley McIsaac, I'm afraid you're just going to have to keep on moving. And so, yeah, you just go out and try it. Now, I mean, people who become rock stars, they're not stealing from I don't have the physical voice to do it. Like to sing, could sing a few things okay, just don't have the voice.
Yeah.
And that's just a reality. The idea that we all have these beautiful, perfect singing voices and that people who are frontmen of bands who are great singers are stealing that position from the rest of us is just ridiculous. It just ignores the basic reality that singing ability is also a bell curve. Mm-hmm. I mean, Freddie Mercury never took a singing lesson. Man, bastard. Right? Never took a singing lesson.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, one of the great pop and rock and singers, and even did some pretty cool operatic stuff with Montserrat Caballé, just, you know, just the way it is, just how his voice was. And so this egalitarianism is a way of, I think in particular, it's so easy to lie to the lower IQ folk. Mm-hmm. And it's so wrong to do so. You know, if I cheat someone who's really intelligent and really savvy to what I'm doing, like if I can get Bernie Madoff to invest in my Ponzi scheme, I'm clearly a bad guy. But, you know, he knows kind of what's going on. He knows the scene, right? Mm-hmm. If I get some 17-year-old with an IQ of 75 to invest in my Ponzi scheme, that's like evil with an extra side heaping of unbelievable douchebaggery.
Yeah.
Because to lie to the less intelligent is so easy that to do it is even more immoral. Like if I want to go and beat up someone and I beat up and pick on someone my own size, I'm still initiating force. It's still wrong. But if I go and, you know, punt a midget, yeah, I'm initiating force. It's not really a fair fight. And this is what troubles me about Marxists is that they really do fasten on the less intelligent. And the same thing's true of religion. I mean, religiosity decreases almost proportionate to IQ increase. Which, again, is not to say there aren't the outliers, but as IQ increases, religiosity decreases. So religion really is a virus that preys upon the less intelligent. And Marxism, to me, because it tends to try to appeal to the resentments of the lower IQ people because they're, quote, workers, which means they're not entrepreneurs, they're not, they don't have the intelligence, the skill, the drive, the ambition. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. I need roads too. Mm-hmm. But because the Marxists and the leftists, they tend to prey upon the lowest, well, not the lowest, they tend to prey on lower IQ people. It's far worse because it tends to be more intelligent people identifying the lower IQ people and then going in to stoke up fear and resentment in them. An intelligent, like a reasonably intelligent person, when told about going to be burned in hell because a sky ghost doesn't like that you touch yourself, will say, A, why are you so interested in me touching myself? And B, I just don't really buy it, and I'm not going to buy. Like if I go to an atheist and say I'm going to sell you insurance from demonic possession, the atheist is going to say don't really need it. And if I am going to go to a person with an IQ of 120 and say I've got this imaginary disease called sin, which I will now need you to pay me 10% of your income to pretend to cure you of, the intelligent person will say, no, I get off my lawn, right? Please, just stop it, right? No, but if you go to somebody who's got an IQ of 80 or 85 or something like that, and you start spinning these tales about how, the rich are just rich because they've stolen from you and you should have everything they have. I mean, the poor person, the less intelligent person is so much more susceptible to those kinds of manipulative lies that to me, it's like stealing from a Girl Guide. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in the same moral category as stealing from Mike Tyson, but just extra douchey. Like extra ugly, vicious, preying upon those unable to defend themselves intellectually douchebaggery. And that's what really troubles me. And you can see this a lot, the degree to which communism tends to take its root and its hold in less intelligent countries or less educated countries. Less intelligence is the wrong way of putting it, but less sophisticated countries. Because the whole theory behind Marxism is that it was supposed to take place in the most educated and most advanced societies. That's never happened. That has never happened. Marxism tends to take place where you've got North Korea, where you've got Cambodia, where you've got the benighted, uneducated serfs of the Soviet Union, where you have brutally raised, relatively unsophisticated populations. That's where these assholes tend to take root. And it tends to, simply by calling someone the working class, you're automatically appealing to resentment and entitlement. Who the fuck are you to say that the guy who's pushing around the floor cleaner in the office building is somehow the exact economic equivalent of the guy who risked his entire life savings to build the office building and then built it? I mean, just it's ridiculous and it's foolish. And this is what I really dislike. Like, it's the same thing with feminism, too, to some degree, where the feminists sit there and say, well, women are only getting 77 cents on the dollar for what men get, right? To which any intelligent person says, well, fuck me, I'm going to make a fortune then because I'm going to hire women at 80 cents and all the women will come work for me and I'm going to make a killing. And then someone else I'm going to go for 82 cents. I'm still saving 18 cents on the dollar from the men. Mm-hmm. So the idea that there's this massive disparity in this incredibly profit-seeking free market, that there's this massive disparity that has no basis in productivity or economics, only idiots could believe that.
Yeah.
Absolute idiots. And the fact that people then repeat these lies over and over again, stoking the resentment of these idiots, is preying upon the dumb. It is vile and vicious intellectual bullying and cowardice. To those people, I say, pick on someone your own size, assholes.
Yeah.
Call in here. Call into a competent economist. Go talk to Christina Hoff Sommers. Go talk to Karen Strawn. Go pick up the phone and talk to somebody who's fucking smart.
Yeah.
But no, they won't do that. They go talk to Emma Watson. I mean, God almighty. God almighty. If you're such a heavyweight, get in the boxing ring with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Don't go punch out Don Knotts. And when people, if people really grasp that, the degree to which these bastards these unbelievable scumbags are stoking the resentments of people who don't have the intellectual acuity to understand the ridiculousness of these arguments. You're worth as much as the CEO. You're being underpaid. It's like anybody with brains will go, oh, well, wait a minute. How's that? How could that be? Right? I mean, the CEO was here long before I have. He's got way better education. Guy works 80 hours a week. He built the whole company. Yeah. He's worth more than I am. But those people tend to do quite well in organizations. And last thing I'll say is that it tends to be such a self-perpetuating prophecy. So if you tell people who are workers, who are generally less intelligent, because only less intelligent people tend to buy this bullshit, the smarter people who buy this bullshit are actually looking to sell this bullshit. They're looking to get on the gravy train of stoking resentment, and then in the divisions they create, expanding political power by creating victims who demand state restitution for imaginary wrongs. But what bothers me so much is that if you keep telling workers they're being exploited, that the people who created the company they're working at are parasites and out to do them harm, what kind of work attitude are these people going to have? They're going to resent getting up. They're going to resent going to work. They're going to resent their paycheck. They're going to resent everything about it. And they're going to feel, by God, if I could only live in a Marxist robot city where everybody bought me Spam and eggs on a hoverbot. I shouldn't have to get up here. I shouldn't have to go to work. These people are assholes. They're exploiting me. Bastards. I don't want to be here. I mean, what is going to happen to that person's work ethic? What is going to happen to that person's enthusiasm? What's going to happen to that person's desire to improve themselves and move up the economic ladder? They're going to be one surly, resentful son of a bitch to have work for you. The same thing with women. If you keep telling women, oh, it's stacked against you and you're never going to make any money and the men are just exploiting you, they're going to be in there. They're going to be resentful. They're going to be bitchy. They're going to be upset. They're going to be entitled. They're going to be feeling like if you can teach someone that they're being taken advantage of, they'll try and take advantage back in subtle ways, take extra long lunch hours and not come back on time and feel okay about being late. And next thing you know, that person is not moving up. That person is not going to have a job for long. And you have just fucked someone else's life for the sake of pumping your own ideological bullshit into their tender and unsophisticated mind. That is predatory. That is a virus. That is the real parasitism. You know, it's such projection. The communists like, well, there are these exploiters out there who lie to you and cheat you and reduce your economic value. That's you, assholes. That's you. That's not other people. Well, you know, there are people out there who undervalue the contributions of women, will keep them down and won't let them win money and they'll keep them. That's you. By keeping telling women these lies about how they're underpaid. They just work less because they want to have kids. God love them. Keep doing that. That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. But it's not the capitalist class you're talking about. Fucking Marxist academics talking about the working class? That's like me doing a play called My Black Experience. Academics? The working class? Are you kidding me? These people wouldn't know hard work if it came up and slapped them on the face with a wet fish. And they're the ones exploiting the underclasses. They're the ones stoking the resentments of the underclass. They're the ones undermining the economic opportunities of men and minorities, of women and minorities and women. The hell's wrong with my brain? Let me try that again. They're the ones who are undermining the economic opportunities of the poor, of the less intelligent, of women, of minorities. No, I'm not putting them all in the same category. These are just the people who tend to be the targeted receptacles of the resentment mongerers. So I think they're just absolutely horrifying and horrible people. I always told my employees when I was a manager, do what you want. Mike's interested in joining more on the show. Join him more on the show. Find a word edgewise. Wait for me to take a break. Never going to happen. Good luck. But no, I mean, you do whatever you want. Employee who says, like to come on a sales trip. Come on a sales trip. Hey, I'd like to do this research project. Go for it. Give me a cost-benefit analysis. Let me know how it's going to pay off. Love to hear it. You do what you want. This company is going to be a place where you can work as much or within reason as little as you want. You can work to grow. I'll share with you every piece of knowledge that I have. Fantastic. This is a place where you can Play to your heart's content and grow to your heart's content. And yes, we will fund your education. We will fund whatever works for you that's going to add to the productivity of your time here. Wonderful. Never held any barriers in front of people. And some people wanted that, and some people didn't. Both of them were fine with me. But then the ones who didn't had no right to resent when those who did take advantage of those opportunities moved up. I took significant, first world risks. I'm not out there eating fruit bats, but first world risks, I took significant risks in my entrepreneurial, a lot more than most entrepreneurs take. And that was challenging for the people who didn't take those risks around me, because some of them paid off, and it was hard. But it's like, I don't resent the people who didn't take the risks, because they had fun. When I was there working in the middle of the night and they were out there going to discos and stuff, you had fun. Great. I don't resent the fun. But then later, see, they can tax my profits. I can't tax their fun. And that's why that resentment works, because you can remove from someone the fruits of their labor, but you can't remove from someone the fruits of their fun. Right? So they went out to discos and they went traveling across Europe. I can't tax them for that. I can't get those memories. I can't have worked less and had more fun. But they can tax the money that I got from working that hard and taking that many risks. And that's why this resentment is so easy to stoke, because the fruits of virtue can be transferred. The fruits of laziness or the fruits of self-indulgence or the fruits of hedonism can't be transferred, but the fruits of virtue and hard work can be transferred. And that's the fundamental imbalance that makes statism an always and forever unjust situation. Does that make sense or help you with class?
Yeah, it helps me understand. So that's kind of getting into Plato stuff, right? Like, I know better than you. I don't know.
There is an order of intelligence that is necessary. I don't know what the number is, but I would argue that it's sort of 90 to 95, maybe 105 IQ. There's an order of intelligence that is required for any basic understanding of economics. And that order of intelligence is the capacity to not look at the visible benefits, but at the hidden costs. In other words, it's not perceptual. You can't see it, right? So when the government is building a road, everyone can see that the road has been built, and they consider that to be economic activity. It takes us an order of intelligence to understand that there was other things, 5 other businesses that didn't come into effect because the government taxed all that money to build this road. Mm-hmm. And so when you're speaking to less intelligent people, it's really important to remind them of the hidden costs and the visible benefits, and the visible costs and the invisible benefits, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody understands that if you go and work out, sometimes it can be uncomfortable. It's often boring. It's sweaty. It's not, very few people work out just for fun, right? I don't. Yeah. So there's your visible cost. What's the hidden benefit? Well, we all know it's in health and blah, 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 flexibility, strength, energy, better sleep, weight management, blah, 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 right? And in the same way, when you're speaking to less intelligent people, it's really important to remind them that the 100 jobs the government just created cost 500 jobs that weren't created that nobody can see. And the people, of course, who get the jobs that the government creates are happy, but the people who don't get the jobs because they were never created because the government took all that money or debased the currency, they don't even know they didn't get those jobs. And so without constant reminders to the less intelligent people in the world, there will always be a skewing towards an increase in state power. Now, since there always will be less intelligent people in the world, hopefully we can move everybody up, but there will always be less intelligent people. There'll always be a bell curve. And there, James Flynn has theorized that we've sort of reached the maximum in terms of what we can do in intelligence, that there has been a significant leveling off of the Flynn effect. And in some ways, people 100, 150 years ago were smarter, at least in terms of reaction times. IQ's only been around as a test, really, as it's administered from the early part of the 20th century, and particularly through the military. Military being one of the few organizations that's legally allowed to use an IQ test. It's mostly illegal for private companies to use it because of the perception that it discriminates against minorities. But you really have to constantly remind people that the CEO is making money for a variety of reasons. Hard work, probably some helpful stats, but that's not unfair either, right? I mean, some people are born beautiful. They didn't steal my beauty. Brad Pitt didn't steal my hair. And so the fact that people are born beautiful does not give us the right to mutilate them and make them ugly. The fact that some people are born tall doesn't give us the right to remove part of their shin bone and make them short or transfer it. The fact that some people are born with kidney disease doesn't give us the right to steal kidneys from healthy people. There is inequality in the world, and we remediate that with compassion and charity and the pursuit of better environments for everyone, particularly through parenting. At least that's my argument. But you have to constantly remind people. You go to workers and say, look, the CEO is making a lot of money and you're not. Now, if you're capable of making that money, then go to it. And here's how. You work hard, you work diligently, you're enthusiastic, you take risks, you listen to mentors, you enroll people in your success, you take training courses, you travel, you whatever you need to do, right? You express your ambition to your manager, or you go start your own company. If you can do what the CEO can do, then don't resent him, go do it, right? If you can't do what the CEO can do, then don't resent him. Because resentment means that it's unfair. And it's not. Right? So a friend of mine got me tickets to go see Queen with Adam Lambert. Damn, that guy's a singer. Holy crap. Like, what a set of pipes. You know, he's like, everybody sing along. No. I'm sorry, I won't. Because it's Canada, nobody else does. Anyway, I sang along to one or two songs, but you know, you try and sing along and you go like, well, this is why I'm here in the audience and you're up there with the microphone, because I can't do 20% of what you can do with your voice.
Yeah.
And I took singing lessons in theater school and all that. So if I could sing like Adam Lambert, then I should go enter a singing competition. I should go start a band. I should start writing music. I should just go and do it, right? Mm-hmm. If I can't sing like Adam Lambert, I could say that's a bummer. But I can't say that's unfair.
Yeah.
Because being unfair requires a moral agency. And Adam Lambert's singing voice is not the result of a moral agency, but rather the result of genetics or whatever. It's not environment. It's just you're born with that voice, right? You can train it and so on, but you have it or you don't at that level. And so, yeah it's like, Adam Lambert, it sucks that it's got such a great, that should be me up there. It's like, then go do it. Yeah. And if you can't go do it, be happy someone can if you love music. Because if it was you up there, there'd be nobody in the audience. Like if I was up there singing for Queen, there'd be like my wife apologizing to everyone else who showed up by accident. Sorry, he thinks he can, but he can't.
Yeah.
And so, but the stoking of resentment is absolutely predatory upon the most vulnerable people in society, which are the less intelligent. And I think it's absolutely hideous. It's like a doctor using his skill to poison and harm.
Yeah. Intelligence,
I believe, should be used to the benefit of the species as a whole. And that's not, you can go home and, masturbate and play World of Warcraft all you want if you want. But I think ideally, those of us who are accidentally blessed with brains, go help some people, for God's sakes, do it. And I think that's a great way to use it. But I certainly won't, if I've got some brains, I wouldn't steal them from anyone else. I have some natural ability and I've worked for 40,000 hours to develop it. Mm-hmm. But the goal for me is to translate the abstractions that I've worked on for many years into a digestible format for people of only slightly above average intelligence. I'm not saying that's you, just so you know. Yeah. But, I get lots of emails from people who are like, I've been a janitor for 10 years, and I get what you're saying, it really has changed my life and so on. Be a janitor. This could be a guy with an IQ of 90 or 95, and he gets what I'm talking about. I think people who call in tend to be smarter, but that's fantastic. That's what I want. That's what it's to bring the fruits of intelligence. Like how at the beginning computers were like impossible to use because it was all command line bullshit.
Yeah.
And now it's like, right click, place your forehead into the iPad screen, and lo and behold, you've just made a painting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I want, is to user-friendly the shit out of philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is absolutely essential. There's no reason that everyone should come up with a right UPB, but if I can explain it in a way that makes sense to people of average or even slightly below average intelligence, fantastic. Because it's those people that we most need to stop hitting our kids. Because I'll tell you one last thing. IQ and criminality are incredibly related. I don't mean like ruling class criminality, like Wall Street and the Fed and military industrial complex. What I'm talking about is like a basic on the street criminality. Most criminals have an IQ of 75 to 80 or below.
Mm-hmm.
And if through peaceful parenting, we can up those criminals 6 points, that's not outlandish. That doesn't put them in super Mensa category, but it will lift millions and millions of people out of the criminal class. Yeah. What an amazing thing to advocate for. And that is much. So you talk about peaceful parenting rather than you're a victim, the man screwed you, you're never going to get anywhere, so go trash something. I mean, that you just have to look at the different approaches of this show versus the Marxists or the whoever, right? The feminists and race baiters and crap. I mean, just work at, do the Zimmerman video. I'm like, man, black families, please stop hitting your children. Here's the evidence. Go watch this. And we just passed 1 million views on that. 1 million people have seen that peaceful parenting message, a lot of whom are in minorities. Fantastic. Let's start closing this gap. Let's start raising your children peacefully.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other people who are like, you're screwed, white man a racist, you're never getting anywhere. It's like, you absolutely exploitive bastards. How dare you call other people exploitive when you are the people holding them down?
Yeah. No, I think that part of my IQ is kind of related to things that I went through as a child, but, I don't really need to get into that right now. But, it's like I started to notice a little bit of a higher IQ around the time when I started to hit some growth spurts. And I think that that's because I could actually defend myself. So it was mainly from my mother, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly we can end up with some pretty strong muscles from opposition. I certainly would not have the quickness of thought processes and debate if I had not grown up with a crazy mom that I constantly had to push back with an attempt to assert and maintain my relationship to reason and reality. So, yeah, I mean, that which does not kill us, blah, blah, blah. So I think there is some truth in that, but yeah, that's certainly not. It's not like if you put everyone in that situation of adversity, they all come out with a high IQ. That is does not seem to be the way it works. IQ tends to be formed pretty early, and IQ even tracks with reaction times as an infant pretty closely. So I believe that there is a strong genetic component to it. I don't know to what degree it is, and it doesn't really matter fundamentally, because let's say the genetic component to IQ is 0.3 correlation or 0.9 correlation. Doesn't matter. Does that mean we won't do everything we can to equalize it through opportunity and peaceful parenting? No, we're still going to continue to do all of that. So I act as if IQ is 0% hereditary, although I know that's not with the current science. But I act if it's 0% because what difference would it make? Even if it's only 1% environmental, we would still do everything we can to attempt to close whatever gaps exist. So that's, I think, my focus. So, yeah, the adversity, I think, can provoke some significant skill development, but I don't know the degree to which, I mean, criminals have gone through significant adversity too. They just tend to have gone through it with a significantly lower IQ than the general population. So that adversity did not bring great things to them. But I think if you have a high IQ, adversity can bring you some great skills and abilities. So that's sort of my thought on it. And again, this is all tentative and subject to scientific revision.
Yeah, well, I've got, like, my dad's really smart, but my mom's not really there. So, I mean, no, both of them have been in college for I mean, the past 20 years. So that's kind of where that's at. That's caused them some troubles, but.
And listen, man, look, Dwight, I know you want to, I could sort of hear you wanting to talk about your family, and I would like to do that. I don't think we can do it tonight because I think we're sort of rounding the corner to the finish line of the show.
Yeah.
But if you do want to talk more about family stuff, just give Mike a ping and we'll see if we can fit you in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you for the rant opportunity. And
I know. That was awesome.
I hope that people on the resentment side, or the stoking resentment side, will look at the facts and really put their muscle and weight behind doing what they can to improve the human condition rather than stoking resentment, which is an age-old splitting technique designed to really rupture societies as a whole. And when they reap what they sow, if they do, they will bitterly regret their choices, I believe. But I hope now is not too late. So thanks, everyone, so much for the show. Thanks to all the callers. As always, massively, massively appreciated bringing your thought, curiosity, openness, and honesty to the conversation. You guys are the best. I genuinely, completely, and totally believe that this listenership is the highest quality listenership that there is in the world. We have the best conversations. We have the best topics. I still listen to a bunch of other people who do shows, particularly with callers. I mean, you guys are just like hands above, miles above, stratospheres above, I dare say light years above the other callers to other shows that I've listened to, and I hugely appreciate that. This is this show in particular, and this is the bulk of what we produce, 6 or 7 more hours a week, is entirely driven by the quality of what you guys bring to the table, and what you guys bring to the table is magnificent, and I hugely appreciate you for that. So fdrurl.com/donate to help the show out, and not just to help the show out, it's the one way of putting it, to pay for what you're consuming, because it all costs money to produce. It all costs money to get into your desktop. Server bills are expensive. Bandwidth bills are very expensive. Technical equipment is expensive. And my Brazilian waxes are enjoyable. But so pay for what you consume. It's the right thing to do. Just sign up for a monthly subscription. You'll feel so much better. fdrurl.com/donate. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. I'm free. Get a brother, get a crust. Yeah, I can't waiter at the restaurant, but maybe they're throwing some food out in the back. I'm going to go taste me some dumpster freedom. Jesus Christ. I mean, look at people who can't get jobs. It's like, no. You're free. You're free. You're not being exploited anymore. Shouldn't you be happy? Now you can go be one of those parasitical managers who just coast by on everyone else's labor. Go do it. So easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you could get shit for free, everybody would be a manager. The idea that there's no costs and benefits to being a manager, they get paid more. Okay, good. So go do what they do. If it's easy, it's free money, which defies all the laws of economics, but that's okay because you're kind of an idiot. So just pretend that they're getting free magic money because they're tall or have nice hair or are white or a male. It's free money. So go get some. If it's so easy. But they don't want to do that. They just want to sit there and have people like Iago pour these resentments into their ear. He's just making all the money off your labor. It's like, oh, well, the sensible thing would be for me to go and do that then, right? There's this big pile of unattended money over there. You could just go and get some like he did. Well, I'm going to go over and get me some of that unattended money. Doesn't seem to be here. What there is here is a whole lot of 80-hour work weeks and stress and worry and debt and risk. When a restaurant fails, the owners are usually left hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Had to get their drinks out before you brought their food. So you had like 8 or 10 tables. People all come in and sit at the same time. You have to get their food. And they put timers on the table. And you'd slap the timer and off you'd go. You'd have to get their drinks. Then you'd have to go back and get their food and have it out within 5 minutes. And if you didn't get out within 5 minutes, they got a free pizza. The manager of that restaurant was throwing up blood. Sometimes he was so stressed at the end of those lunches because it was so crowded. And they just shooting fucking pizzas out like cannons. Pull, slap down, right? And I mean, I was like, people would say to me, hey, Do you want to go be part of the parasitical managerial class? It's like, I really don't. Because he's like, his eyeballs are yellow with stress. Like, he's throwing up blood. I don't want that. Yeah. That's not for me. Right? No, thank you. I'm just going to come in, tie my little uniform on, throw some pizzas at people, and go home. So the idea that I was somehow viciously exploited, you know, those same people who say to the working class, you're being exploited. Do you know how I really no longer felt exploited? When I couldn't get a job. When I graduated in the early 90s, a terrible recession. I talked about this before. I'll keep it brief, but I was like, I want to be a waiter. We don't need a waiter. Got more waiters than we can handle. We're firing waiters. Everywhere I went, nothing going on. Look, I'm free of exploitation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, there are criminals and there are individuals, but the criminals are individuals. It's like, no, right?
I'm sorry, man.
No, that's fine. So they say relationship to the source of power in society. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
And I assume that they mean economic power. I mean, there's very few people who say we have a class structure and the class structure is political. They usually say it's economic, right?
Yeah. That's usually what they say.
I'd also like to say like a grand and enormous fuck you to everyone who talks about the working class. Like seriously, fuck you. You selfish, entitled, largely academic assholes. Are you trying to tell me that in your fucking definition of the working class, when I was an entrepreneur, and I've now been an entrepreneur for 20 years almost, are you saying to me that a fucking fat bastard punching his clock at the DMV or the post office, he's the working class, but me as an entrepreneur, working sometimes 60, 70, 80 hours a week, putting my ass on the line, signing massive liabilities for tens of thousands of dollars to keep payroll going for another couple of weeks until money comes in. That this fucktard of a government employee, he's the working class, and I'm not working? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How do people say this with a straight face? Fuck you to the people who talk about the working class. Be a goddamn entrepreneur rather than a pimply communist ass-sitting motherfucker, and then maybe...
They don't stop using the same argument after it's been refuted. So it's...
Yeah, class, look, the Marxist definition of class is just an appeal to vanity.
Yeah.
You're the real heroes here because you come in at 9, you get your 2 15-minute breaks, and sometimes 45 or 50 minutes for lunch, and then come 5 o'clock, you're out of here. You're the real hero in this company. Without you, this company couldn't function. Those guys up there who worked 80-hour weeks to build this company, they're the parasites. You guys are the real heroes. You're the real money makers. They're just stealing from you. And you know why they're targeting the people at the bottom? Because the people at the bottom are usually too stupid to know that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Listen, when I was a waiter, I didn't feel exploited.
Yeah.
Because when I was a waiter, I was like, God damn, I'm glad somebody made this restaurant. Because I'm not a retard. I'm not an idiot. I know the restaurant didn't just belch itself out of the ground like lava out of Mount Vesuvius. The restaurant had to be conceived of, built, planned. Somebody had to order all that shit that comes out of the back of the restaurant. Somebody had to advertise. Somebody had to order, paint the walls. Somebody had to make the tables. Somebody had to make the oven. Somebody has to pay the electricity bills. I just got to fucking waltz in there, bring people some food, and walk out with change in my pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a waiter at a pizza place, this is way back in the day. You had a 5-minute guarantee on people's lunches. 5-minute guarantee for sit-down food. And you can talk to me about the working class.
Yeah, no.
Get out of the academics. Stop reading Marx. Go start a fucking company. Go come up with an idea. Get some investors and work your fucking ass off. Stare at a business plan until beads of blood form on your forehead, fall and create some miracle of hieroglyphics that produces money. Go and start a company and then talk to me about the fucking working class. Entrepreneurs are the working class.
Yeah. I totally get that, and I kept on rebuting that entire theory with that entrepreneurship.
Karl Marx? Karl Marx talking about the working class?
Didn't
The guy
he?
didn't work a fucking day his whole goddamn life. He leeches off his dad. He leeches off his wife. He leeches off off Engels.
Yeah.
And then he bangs his maid, tosses her around the street. Oh, because, exploitation of the working class is really terrible. Bangs his maid, tosses her out in the street, denies that he even has a son, which everybody knows he has, because he wouldn't want to lose his moral prestige. This fuckwit of a pimple-ass motherfucker is going to talk to me about the working class. You giant Old Testament bearded fucking leech parasite on the human condition. Just bugs the shit out of me. Get a fucking job. Start a company. Hire some people who you call the working class and compare your hours to their hours. Then talk to me about the working class. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I understand that. I just keep on getting into these weird arguments with them, and it's like they